Peace everybody, back with another video. This is the Four Horsemen of America's Apocalypse, and this is from June 9th, 2020. And as you can see here, you can see that this White House or whatever it is destroyed. If it gets, I hope it doesn't get to that point, but that's what it could have looked like. It takes a lot to build a civilization, though it is much easier to destroy a civilization. It takes a lot to do that too. But now we have four roots of evil that are guaranteed to do so. Yeah, so there are four roots of evil that are doing so. All right, and it did take a lot to build a civilization. Now it's being destroyed altogether. Number one, victimhood. The first is victimhood. The more people who regard themselves as victims, individuals, or as a group, the more likely they are to commit evil. People who think of themselves as victims feel that, having been victimized, they are no longer bound by moral conventions, especially the moral conventions of their alleged or real oppressors. Everyone knows this is true, but few confront this truth. Every parent, for example, knows that the child who thinks of him or herself as a perpetual victim is the child most likely to cause and get into trouble. And criminologists report that nearly every murderer in prison thinks of himself as a victim. Yes, so you got victimhood. So this is, the first is victimhood, of course. The more people who regard themselves as victims, as individuals or as a group, the more likely they are to commit evil. So they'll commit a whole lot of evil, like doing crime, like shooting people, robbing stores, destroying property, anything they can get their self into. Everyone knows that this is true, and yes, it is true, because you cannot escape the truth at all, really, but few confront this truth, so it's not very many that would confront the truth. Every parent, for example, knows that the child who thinks of him or herself as a perpetual victim is the child most likely to cause and get into trouble. And this is what the criminologists report. On a societal scale, the same holds true, and being on such a larger scale, the chances are real evil ensuring are exponentially increased. One of the most obvious examples is Germany. After World War I, most Germans regarded themselves as victims of the Treaty of Versailles, of a stab in the back, German government, of the British Americans and French, and of course of the Jews. This sense of victimhood was one of the most important factors of the popularity of the Nazis, who promised to restore German dignity. And so on a social scale, the same holds true. So, and being on such a larger scale, the chances of real evil ensuing are exponentially increased. So they exponentially increased all this evilness. Of course, the World War I, most Germans regard themselves as victims because they've been through all the war and everything else, and now it's a mess after that. The Treaty of Versailles, of a stab in the back, German government of the British, Americans and French, and of course of the Jews. This sense of victimhood was one of the most important factors in the popularity. So that's what it was. That millions of Black Americans regard themselves as victims, probably more so today than at any time in the past 50 years, can only lead to disaster for America, generally for Blacks specifically, while victims generally feel free to lash out at others. they also go through life angry and unhappy. Yes, so they do, but it's more of the Caucasian people that get killed, more of them. All right. So, and of course, the millions of Black Americans regard themselves as victims. So, it all depends on what kind of trauma they go to or whatever they go through. But they go through life angry and unhappy, which I kind of find that untrue because it's more of the Caucasian people. Demonization, the second of the four ingredients of this civilization destroying witches brew, is demonization. Demonizing a group as inherently evil. Yes, so you got the ingredients of this civilization destroying witches brew is demonization. That is being done with regard to the white people of America. All whites are declared racist. The only difference among them is that some admit it and some deny it. Wait a minute, how can some admit it and some deny it? Excuse me, what about the Caucasian people that were not brought up that way? Does that make them racist? No, it doesn't. The notion that whites are inherently evil has long been associated with Louis Farrakhan, but it has apparently migrated out from his relatively small following to many blacks, even those who might consider Farrakhan a kook. Former President Barack Obama, hardly a Farrakhan follower, described America as having racism in its DNA. That is as close to inherited and irremediably evil as it gets. You cannot change your DNA. No, you can't, because Obama is the racist one. That's why he was not from this country. He's from Indonesia. So what does that tell you? He's racist. And Farrakhan, another racist. And of course, they're considering Farrakhan a kook, which I really don't care. He's a kook, so what? Now they're trying to say the notion that whites are inherently evil has long been associated with Louis Farrakhan. Well, excuse me, but I don't like Farrakhan, I don't follow him, and I don't give a crap about him. But it has apparently migrated out from his relatively small following to many blacks, even though who might consider Farrakhan a kook. Yeah, he's a kook, all right. He's lost a few French fries in his head. In that sense, not only are whites demonized, but America is too. Unlike traditional liberals, the left regards America as a moral cesspool. Not only racist, but according to the New York Times, found it to be so. The New York Times has created a history of America that declares its founding not in 1776, but in 1619. When the first black slaves arrived, the American Revolution was fought according to this Malign narrative, not merely for Americans. Revolution or narrative, not merely for American independence, but in order to perceive slavery, a practice the British would have interfered with. This history will now be taught in thousands of American schools. Well, let me tell you something. The Democrats, which are the deep state, which are the shadow governments, they are the original slave owners, okay? That's who are the original slave owners. The shadow governments are. They took all the black community into slaves during that time, all right? When the few black slaves arrived, the American Revolution was fought according to this Malign narrative. And of course, you know the mainstream media, they always love to lie a lot. You can't even trust the mainstream media anymore. The combination of victimhood and demonization alone is dangerous enough, but there are still two more horsemen galloping toward the looming apocalypse. So yes, there is two more looming the apocalypse. So you got the victimhood and you got the demonization. Now, next one, number 3, a cause to believe in. Most Americans throughout American history found great meaning in being America and in being religious, usually Christians. Since World War II, we have lived in a post-Christian, post-nationalist age. Until very recently, Americans would have found the expression for God and country deeply meaningful. That term today on the left is risible and credible. But people need something to believe in. The need for meaning is the greatest human need after the need for food. Leftism, with all its offers, feminism, environmentalism, Black Lives Matter, Antifa has filled that vacuum. In Europe, communism, fascism, nationalism filled the hole left by the demise of nationalism and Christianity. Here it is leftism and its offshoots. Yes, so the left, they want everything. They want socialism, they want nationalism, they want facialism, they want censorship, they want everything. But you know what? It's not going to happen. All right, and this is the third one, a cause to believe in. And this is what the shadow governments are doing. So this is the third horse. All right. Yes, Christians are in danger because of all these rioters, looters, and everything that's going on with the demon rats. That's what I'm calling them. But they're the leftists. They're the ones that are causing all this chaos and everything else. And it's just a sad shame people are still voting for these left-wing people that are evil, who were the original slave owners a long time ago. And yet people still think, oh, they're safe. No, they're using you. That's what they're doing. They're using you. And they don't care. The fourth horse of all. The fourth and most important ingredient necessary for evil is lies. Lies are the root of evil. Ironically, slavery itself was made possible only because of the lie that the black was inferior to the white. Nazism was made possible thanks to the lie that Jews were not fully human, and communism was built on lies. Lenin, the father of Soviet communism, named the Soviet Communist newspaper Truth, Pravda, because truth was what the Communist Party said it was. Well, you see, this is why you can't trust the alleged communist parties, because they are built on lies, and this is why they are tricking you. So this is the fourth horse right here, lies. This is why you got the 4 horsemen that are evil. All right, and this is why they don't care about you. They want to take everything away from you, so you can't have nothing. So it's time to wake up. So you got all these people, all these 4 horsemen that are liars, but they're not going to get away with it too much longer, I hope. But this is what they do. They throw all these lies in through mainstream media and everything else, because the mainstream media makes up stories about this and about that to make Trump look bad. And you know what? And it's not going to keep working for too much longer, because the mainstream media, I think they're about to die out soon because of all the lies. And you know, and it's just a sad shame that it's happening like this. So it's time to wake up. All right. Now, objective truth doesn't exist on the left. The universities have already declared objective truth as essentially as expression of white privilege. See what happens to a student who says in class, for example, man cannot give birth. Well, that's true. They can't give birth. How can a man give birth? That part is true. They cannot give birth. Only a woman can. The public self-debasement demanded of anyone who differs with the left, like New Orleans Saints quarterback Drew Brees just did what when he said not standing for the national anthem, desecrated the flag, and those who have died for it. Happens almost daily. The only difference between this and what descendants underwent during Mao's Cultural Revolution is that the self-debasement here is voluntary thus far. Last week, when this Jew saw a store in Santa Monica with a sign reading Black-owned business, so as to avoid being destroyed, it evoked chilling memories. That's how bad it is in America today. Yeah, it is bad in America today because everything is being destroyed for no reason at all. These Antifa, they're part of this destruction that they are doing. And they're burning down business, they're destroying everything in its path, and they don't care. This is why they've been lying to you all this time. Because they do not care. The mainstream media are brainwashing people. And of course, I know some of you still watch CNN. Oh, they're telling the truth. No, they're not. CNN is not telling the truth. That's the Criminal News Network. So get away from the news. Get away from it. Turn the TV off. Don't watch the news anymore. Turn the TV off. Listen to music. Read a book. Do something, but just get away from the news, because none of these news medias are telling the truth at all. They are brainwashing you. It's mind control. That's what it is. Mind control. I don't even watch TV at all, except for a couple of shows here and there, but that's just about it. But other than that, I really don't watch TV at all. Leave your comments below. I am out.